Welcome to the Hindu Daily. We're kicking off our deep dive today by looking at some really critical choices. Choices about the environment, about global power, and how we manage things at the grassroots level, health, education.
And quite a range.
It is. Let's start in the editorial section. First up, there's a fascinating argument about industrial greening standards.
Yes, and this one, it really zeroes in on a global trend, which is this move to reduce the mandatory green cover area for industries.
It's usually done under that banner of ease of doing business, right?
Always. But what this analysis points out is that this might be, well, a false economy. It's an administrative decision, but it kind of ignores a crucial ecological distinction.
Okay, so you're talking about the difference between, I think the terms are mitigative and restorative greening.
That's it.
For listeners who might not be in urban planning, what does that technical distinction actually, mean on the ground?
Okay, so think about it this way. Mitigative greening is the green belt you see inside a factory's walls.
The lawns, the trees around the buildings.
Exactly, and it's highly effective locally. The source, for instance, notes that these green belts can reduce what's called total suspended particulate matter, basically dust and pollution, by a whopping 65%.
65%, that's huge.
It is, and they're also excellent acoustic barriers. They can drop ambient noise by somewhere between 10 to 17 decibels right around the plant, so they mitigate the immediate impact.
So they're like localized Band-Aids. Very effective for the people working right there, but they aren't actually fixing the ecological damage that converting the land caused in the first place.
Precisely. That's the key. Restorative greening acknowledges the full ecological cost. A few ornamental trees, they just can't compensate for the loss of a natural ecosystem.
They can't do the job of a real forest, sequestering carbon or regulating water cycles.
Or sustaining biodiversity, exactly. And this is why comparing our green cover rules to other countries is so misleading. These comparisons, they often don't account for vital local factors.
Like our population density or the fragility of the local ecosystem.
Right. The article uses a great analogy. It's like prescribing the same diet for everyone, regardless of their age or their existing health conditions.
That makes perfect sense. You can't have a one-size-fits-all environmental rule when local capacity and need are so dramatically different. So what's the way forward here?
Well, if we relax the internal norms to, free up industrial space, how do we make sure we aren't selling the environment short?
That's the question.
The proposed solution is a balanced sort of two-tiered strategy. You relax the internal, the on-site requirements, the mitigative stuff a little bit.
Okay.
But in exchange, industries must commit to mandatory off-site greening.
So they have to invest outside their own property. What would that look like?
It means they're required to invest in large-scale ecological projects. Things like restoring degraded lands near river basins or developing regional green reserves or even funding carbon offset programs that are tied to genuine regeneration.
That's a fundamentally different model. I mean, it changes the industry's role from just being a regulated entity that has to tick a box.
Yeah. To an active partner in ecological stewardship. Yes.
It forces them to look beyond their own fence line and connect their industrial progress to the health of the entire regional landscape. That feels like real sustainability.
Absolutely. It transforms industry into a force that enables the regeneration of the very ecosystems that ultimately sustain them.
Shifting gears now, but still on the topic of big choices, let's look at global strategy. The second editorial piece dives into India's strategic autonomy and this massive power shift to Asia.
Right. And it frames it perfectly, I think, by referencing that really striking projected 2025 Busan G2 summit photograph.
The one with a very calm Chinese President Xi Jinping next to shall we say, a noticeably uneasy U.S. President Donald Trump.
That image just says it all, doesn't it? It frames this acknowledged reality. I mean, even the U.S. Secretary of State has said the 21st century story is being written in Asia.
But that shift, it brought immediate external pressure on India, didn't it? Specifically from Washington.
Oh, yes. The pressure was about its complicated relationship with China and, of course, the big one, buying cheap Russian oil.
And the Indian leadership's response, as Prime Minister Modi emphasized, was pretty straightforward.
It was, basically. India's future choices are its own. And that principle, that idea of strategic autonomy, it really seems to be the bedrock of this new foreign policy direction.
So the thinking is that the choice isn't just a simple binary tilt, siding with the U.S. or with China, as it's often framed in the West.
Exactly. The real pivot is toward Asia itself. It's driven by the realization that the combined Asian market will soon just dwarf the U.S. market. And the integration here is driven by shared value chain interests, not old colonial models.
And the article really stresses that the new rules of global power are changing. It's not just about diplomatic leverage or the size of your army anymore.
That's a critical insight. The core of geopolitical strength now, it rests on technological capacity,
Yeah.
the digital economy, and that then translates directly into military capability.
Which demands what the article calls hard decisions for India.
Hard decisions, yes. Things like ensuring national data security, driving your own homegrown technology innovation, local defense production, and, of course, inclusive growth to support all of this.
The sources even suggest a pretty radical reorientation of defense spending
It's a huge suggestion. There's this strong, very challenging argument being put forth. What if you have the size of the conventional army?
and reduce reliance on those large, expensive imported platforms.
Precisely. The savings, they argue, must be funneled immediately and heavily into endogenous capabilities. We're talking massive investment in areas where India is already showing promise.
So AI, air defense, space assets.
Drones, all of it. And underpinning this entire strategy is the concept of AI sovereignty.
The idea that you don't just use AI, but you have to actively shape its global future.
Absolutely essential. I mean, we saw the Bernstein report warning that the current national AI mission might be, significantly underfunded to truly compete on a global scale
And Parliament has been emphasizing this too, right? The need for indigenous research.
urgently. For India to achieve global power status by 2047, AI sovereignty isn't a luxury. It's a prerequisite for maintaining both economic and security independence.
This is a perfect transition, actually, from these high-level strategic decisions to seeing how policy is driven by local urgency. Let's pivot to the spotlight section now. We're starting with Kerala's really serious commitment to tackling snakebite envenomation.
This is such a vital public health story. In October, Kerala declared snakebite envenomation a notifiable disease.
Which means they have to report every single case.
Yes, and that aligns them with the National Action Plan, which aims to have deaths by 2030. And when you think about the scale, I mean, India sees over 64,000 snakebite deaths annually. The urgency is just crystal clear.
And what really acted as the catalyst for this sweeping change was the just heartbreaking and preventable death of a 10-year-old girl, Shahala Shirin, back in 2019.
It was a horrific story. It wasn't just a tragedy. It exposed a massive systemic failure.
She was bitten by a snake hiding in the classroom crevice.
In her classroom. And the delays that followed were just agonizing. The local hospital had the anti-snake venom, the ASV, but they didn't have ventilator support.
Which you need if the venom causes respiratory failure.
Exactly. So they had to make this immediate, desperate 90-kilometer rush to a bigger facility. Her death, it just laid bare the state's gap in clinical preparedness. It led the High Court to intervene.
With suo proceedings, right?
Yeah.
Demanding safety upgrades in all schools.
Yes. And that urgency led directly to the creation of the SARPA program, that's the Snake Awareness, Rescue, and Protection app, in August 2020.
So how successful has that model been?
Oh, it's been transformative, truly, because it introduced science and safety into the process. They trained 6,200 people in the scientific bag and pipe rescue method.
So moving away from dangerous, unscientific ways of capturing snakes.
Completely. And the results, they just speak for themselves. Snakebite deaths plummeted. They went from 123 in the 2018-2019 period to just 34 so far in 2024-2025.
Wow, that is a dramatic drop.
It is. And just as importantly, nearly 58,000 snakes have been safely rescued. That's a major conservation win.
But, despite this success, there's still an unmet medical challenge, isn't there? Specifically with a local species.
That's right, the hump-nosed pit viper. It's endemic to the Western Ghats. Now, the National Mitigation Plan focuses on the big four species.
The cobra, krait, Russell's viper, and the saw-scaled viper.
Correct. But this pit viper is increasingly responsible for bites in the region, and that's partly due to agricultural shifts to cash crops, which create its preferred habitat.
And the scientific hitch here is that the standard antivenom, the polyvalent ASV, it just doesn't work.
It's ineffective because it's manufactured using venom from the big four, not this local species. So you have the treatment, but as the article puts it, it's the wrong key for the lock.
So what's the solution?
Well, it highlights the crucial need for regional venom collecting centers. You need to develop species-specific, localized antivenoms. And Kerala is responding. They've announced plans to start local ASV production by July 2025 to tackle this exact problem.
That's great news. But what are the hurdles that still exist today? What stops people getting rapid treatment?
A few things. There's still this clinical hesitancy among some doctors to administer ASV. They fear anaphylaxis, a severe allergic reaction, and that's often linked to insufficient training.
And what about the rescuers themselves?
Well, the SARPA handlers are well trained, but sustaining their activity is tough. Many are volunteers who have other jobs. Experts are pushing for a better hub and spoke model for pre-hospital care, strengthening ambulance services.
Yeah, it's just a powerful example of a public tragedy driving this holistic public health reform, which, as a side effect, also boosts conservation awareness. Let's transition now from public health to cognitive development and grassroots sports. We're moving over to Telangana, which is seeing this quiet but really powerful chess renaissance.
This is a truly inspiring movement. You see it in places like the Zilla Parashad High School in Wazadu, which is right near the Chhattisgarh border.
What's happening there?
70 students, many from the Koya tribal community, are now playing chess every single day, plotting strategies on a board that they once, had a real fear of. It's an intellectual revolution at the village level.
And this isn't just happening organically. It's being driven by a group called the Chess Network.
Yes, a focused nonprofit, and it's supported mainly by NRIs. Their core goal isn't just about creating chess masters. It's about combating digital distraction and screen addiction among young people.
They see chess as an antidote to the digital deluge.
Exactly. Psychiatrists confirm the cognitive benefits. Chess markedly improves things like attention span, self-control, resilience. It offers a deep, intellectually enriching alternative to, say, the rapid feedback loops of online gaming.
And they're really scaling this up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Chess Network plans to distribute 15,000 chess boards across villages just this academic year. They often train college students to become coaches in their own home villages during the holidays. It's a great model.
And this momentum, it goes beyond the 64 squares, too. It's part of a broader push for sports initiatives across the state.
That's right. You have things like the Hyderabad Inner-City Basti Sports Academy, which draws over 600 participants. It's explicitly aimed at spotting talent in slum communities.
And there's another foundation mentioned, too.
The High Five Youth Foundation, also with NRI support, they've built modern basketball courts at tribal welfare residential educational institutions, actively nurturing tribal talent with dedicated infrastructure.
And the government is backing this, formalizing the talent pipeline.
Absolutely. The Telangana Tribal Welfare Residential Educational Institutions Society, or TGTWRISE, runs 20 mini sports academies and 2 dedicated sports schools.
And it's working.
The success is measurable. 25 students have competed at the state level. 5 have gone on to compete nationally. It's a direct result of these state-run schools and coaches spotting that potential early on.
And we're seeing a real commitment to expanding this.
Yeah.
Like the new sports school in Hanamkonda.
Yes, inaugurated by the Sports Authority of Telangana, SHS. And they're ambitious. They're planning a sports club in Hyderabad, modeled on successful ones in Delhi and Bengaluru, and even a skating rink. The big challenge, of course, is the shortage of qualified coaches in many districts, but the state-level commitment is there.
It's a great foundation for young athletes. Next up, we're marking a major milestone. 50 years of India's Anganwadi program.
50 years. The Integrated Child Development Services, now known as Mission Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0.
It is the world's largest community-based program for early childhood development, isn't it?
It is. It serves over 90 million beneficiaries. It covers everything from supplementary nutrition and preschool education to immunization. Its impact over 5 decades is just, well, it's undeniable.
And yet, the continuing need is still starkly highlighted by the national stunting rate, which is at 37%.
It is. And some states, like Karnataka, have been particularly proactive in evolving the system. They have over 40 lakh beneficiaries now, and the centers function as partial daycares, which is so crucial for enabling mothers to work.
And the focus is evolving, too.
It is. While supplementary nutrition was always the backbone, there's a new focus on quality education. In Bengaluru, there's a pilot project to convert 250 urban Anganwadis into government Montessoris, offering structured pre-primary education in both Kannada and English.
This all sounds like progress. But if we peel back the layers, the program is struggling with some pretty serious structural and financial hurdles. What's the biggest problem?
It really comes down to funding and commitment. A huge systemic shock happened back in 2015. The central state funding ratio was shifted pretty abruptly from 90.9 to 60.40,
So the states suddenly had to pay a much larger share.
a much larger burden, and that shift immediately starved essential components, things like training programs, recruitment, maintenance. It all took a hit.
And I imagine if the funding is shaky, the people running these centers, the workers, they suffer too.
It's a critical point. The workers receive an honorarium that's far below minimum wage, and the center's share hasn't gone up in 7 years.
So activists are arguing this should be a right, not just welfare.
Exactly, a right to nutrition and pre-primary education, not just a fluctuating provision. And on top of that, infrastructure remains a persistent issue. You have newly constructed buildings that sometimes lack basics like electricity. And there's an urgent need for integrated creches for children under 3.
So 50 years in, it's this monumental, necessary institution, but it's still handicapped by insufficient and unstable structural support.
It's a vital lifeline for millions, but one that desperately needs sustained political and financial backing to finally realize its full potential.
For our final deep dive, let's circle back to the world of chess for our SAT Sports section. We're looking at the platform that powers so much of this global renaissance, Lichess.
Lichess really is a revolution. It's a completely free, open-source chess website, no registration needed, 0 ads, and it's used by everyone, from absolute beginners to world champions.
And it provides all this learning material for free.
All of it. Extensive courses, studies, puzzles, everything is free.
What's truly astonishing to me is the operational efficiency. This is one of the 300 biggest websites in the world. It handles hundreds of millions of visits a month, something like 3.5 million rated games every single day.
And yet it operates with only 3 full-time paid employees.
3 people? How is that even possible?
That's the power of open source. It relies on a global army of volunteers and sustains itself entirely through small donations. The average contribution is about €5.
And the founder, Thibaut Duplessis, he started it just to practice coding.
That's the story. He started it back in 2011 to practice the Scala programming language.
So this whole ethos of keeping chess free and accessible, it's really central to its identity.
It is the core belief. The director of operations, he confirmed they are, and I'm quoting, not for sale. They actively oppose the corporatization of the game.
And they cover their operational costs, which are significant, around $720,000 a year, just through these user donations.
Yes, for servers, salaries, prize funds. The support comes mainly from North America and Europe.
And even with that global reach, India is a huge part of their user base.
It is. India is the second largest follower base, right after Russia. Lichess recognizes that and is actively looking to expand its efforts here, focusing specifically on integrating grassroots chess into educational programs.
Which connects perfectly with what we were just discussing in Telangana.
Exactly. It shows how these technological platforms, when they're built ethically, can really democratize access to learning and engagement on a global scale.
That's a fantastic connection point. Whether it's redefining global power through AI, or healing the environment with a new landscape strategy, or fighting screen addiction with a chessboard, today's sources really show us that the most impactful shifts often require us to challenge these deeply entrenched traditional norms. And you, the listener, now have a complete, well-rounded view of these complex, interconnected stories. Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day.